In the bustling city of Lagos, where dreams rise as tall as skyscrapers and fall as quickly as broken promises, lived a young woman named Ifeoma. Her beauty was the kind that made strangers pause on the road and whisper to each other. Her skin glowed, her eyes carried innocence, and her smile could light up even the darkest corners of the city. But Lagos was a place where beauty was both a blessing and a curse. Ifeoma was the only child of Clara, a wealthy widow. Clara's husband had died years earlier, leaving her vast estates, businesses, and a grand mansion in Ikeja. People respected Clara, but many feared her too. She had a way of hiding her heart behind coldness. Though many suitors had tried, Clara never remarried. She told the world she was devoted to raising her daughter, but in truth, loneliness gnawed at her every night. Ifeoma grew up shielded from hardship, her life soft compared to the noise of Lagos outside her gates. Yet her heart longed for something real, not the shallow compliments of rich boys in shiny cars. She prayed for a love that would see her, not just her beauty. Little did she know that love would come from the most unexpected place, a love that would not only shake her world but also awaken dangerous desires in her own household. A love that would test blood ties and reveal how far a mother's hunger could reach. For in the city of Lagos, shadows often live inside the brightest mansions. One hot afternoon, Ifeoma's car broke down in Surulere, one of the busiest parts of Lagos. As she waited for the mechanic, her eyes wandered across the market stalls. Among the chaos of traders shouting, danfos honking, and hawkers pushing their goods, she noticed a young man. He was selling second-hand clothes spread on an old mat. His name was David. His shirt was faded, and his slippers were almost torn through, but there was something about his eyes. They carried pain and struggle, yet a certain quiet strength rested in them. He called out to customers with a smile, even when they ignored him. Ifeoma found herself drawn closer. She pretended to look at shirts she didn't need, but her heart was already studying him. David noticed her too, this woman who didn't belong to the dust of the roadside. When she spoke, her voice was soft but curious. They exchanged names, small talk, and shy smiles. David told her about his life, how his parents had died, leaving him to care for his two younger sisters. Every shirt he sold was a meal for them, every coin a school fee. His poverty was raw, but his honesty shone through. Ifeoma was moved. Here was a man who had nothing yet carried himself with dignity. She bought a shirt, not because she needed it, but because she wanted to give him something, even if small. That day marked the beginning of something fragile. In the noise of Lagos, love had quietly found its stage by the roadside. Days turned into weeks, and Ifeoma found excuses to pass through Surulere. Sometimes she would buy just a handkerchief, sometimes nothing at all. What she truly came for was David's smile, the way his eyes lit up when he saw her. They began to talk more, walking in the evenings when his stall was packed away. David spoke of his dreams, how he wished to one day own a small boutique, how he wanted his sisters to go to university. Ifeoma listened, her heart swelling. Unlike the rich boys who bragged about cars and clubs, David's dreams were simple, but they were real. One night, beneath a mango tree near his small rented room, David took her hand. Ifeoma, he whispered, I don't have riches, but my heart is yours. His words were shaky, but his sincerity burned. Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. David, I don't need riches. I just want you. From then on, they became inseparable, though in secret. Ifeoma knew her mother would not understand. Clara wanted her daughter to marry someone of status, someone who could match their wealth. But Ifeoma's heart refused to listen to reason. Every smile, every stolen glance, every whispered promise tied her closer to him. In David's arms, she found the realness she had always prayed for. Yet love, when hidden, grows in dangerous soil. For the day would come when secrecy would step into the light, and the world inside her home would never remain the same. One evening, Filled with courage, Ifeoma said to David, "You must meet my mother. If she sees your heart, she will accept you." David's face tightened. He had seen women like Clara from a distance, rich, proud, used to power. He feared she would see him as nothing but dust. But Ifeoma's faith in him gave him strength. Together, they went to the mansion in Ikeja. The gates opened, and David's heart pounded as he stepped into a world of wealth he had only dreamed of. The marble floors, the golden chandeliers, the air-conditioned silence, it was a world far from his roadside stall. Clara descended the stairs like a queen. When she saw David, her eyes lingered longer than necessary. She smiled, though it was not the smile of a mother. "Welcome," she said warmly, her voice dripping with charm. At dinner, she asked too many questions: where he lived, how he survived, what he planned for the future. David answered with humility, though his hands trembled. Ifeoma thought her mother's curiosity was natural, a sign she cared. But beneath the table, Clara's eyes scanned David like a predator studying prey. That night, as Clara stood alone by her window, she whispered to herself, "This boy, he reminds me of what I lost. Perhaps, what I still deserve." Clara could not sleep that night. David's face lingered in her mind, the firmness of his shoulders, the quiet fire in his eyes. She had told herself for years that love was behind her, that her life was now only about her daughter and her wealth. But seeing David awakened something long buried. Days after their first meeting, Clara began finding excuses to bring David closer. She asked him to help with little errands around the house, carrying groceries, fixing small things, driving her when her chauffeur was unavailable. At first, David hesitated. He respected Ifeoma, and the thought of being too close to her mother made him uneasy. But Clara's wealth was tempting, and his sisters needed help. She gave him small gifts, new clothes, cash for a transport, even food to send home. One evening, Clara's hand lingered too long on his arm. Her eyes met his, bold and unashamed. David looked away, but her meaning was clear. Slowly, a dangerous line was crossed. Clara knew she was betraying her daughter, but her heart burned with a selfish hunger she could not control. David, caught between survival and desire, gave in. Their affair began in whispers, behind locked doors, with promises no one else would ever hear. And yet, with Ifeoma, David's affection never dimmed. He still held her, still whispered love into her ears. To her, he was faithful, a man who chose her above the world. But in reality, he was a man drinking from two wells, one of love, and one of wealth. Months passed, and Ifeoma's joy grew brighter. She believed she had found the one. One night, David knelt before her, holding a simple silver ring. "Marry me," he whispered. Her heart leapt as she said yes, tears of happiness spilling down her cheeks. Clara smiled when she heard the news, but inside, her heart twisted. She had tasted David's touch, shared his secrets. Now she had to stand as a mother while her daughter walked to the altar with the same man. Still, she said nothing. She played her role perfectly, arranging the ceremony, standing tall and proud as the mother of the bride. The wedding was simple but beautiful. Ifeoma's friends cheered, and David held her hand as though she was his only ward. To everyone else, he was the loyal husband. Only Clara knew the truth, that the man who vowed to love her daughter had already shared her own bed. David felt no shame. He believed he deserved them both, the tenderness of the daughter and the wealth of the mother. He wore his double life like a second skin, smiling at Ifeoma in the day, whispering into Clara's ear at night. Their marriage began in celebration, but shadows walked into the mansion with them. A secret triangle had been born, one that would destroy peace in the grand house of Ikeja. After the wedding, David moved into the mansion with Ifeoma and Clara. The house became a strange theater, by day, a happy home, by night, a web of hidden footsteps. Ifeoma was overjoyed. She believed her dreams had come true. She cooked for her husband, planned for their future, and filled the house with laughter. She noticed nothing unusual. David kissed her every morning, held her close at night, and never gave her reason to doubt. But Clara lived in torment. Each time she saw Ifeoma in David's arms, her heart burned with jealousy. She told herself she was older, wiser, more deserving. Yet she could not break free from the hold David had on her. David played his role perfectly. In Ifeoma's room, he was the loving husband. In Clara's room, he was the secret lover. He carried no guilt, only a bold confidence. He told himself, "Why should I choose, when I can have both?" The mansion's walls became silent witnesses to betrayal. Ifeoma laughed freely, never realizing the smiles she saw hid a deadly secret. Clara's eyes grew darker with each passing day. She had her daughter, but she wanted her man. Under that roof, 3 hearts beat in conflict, and it was only a matter of time before the house would shatter. Months later, Ifeoma gave birth to a baby boy. Her joy overflowed. She sang to him, held him close, and thanked God for blessing her with a family. David, too, appeared proud, though deep down he worried. A child meant stronger bonds between him and Ifeoma, bonds that could pull him away from Clara. Clara's jealousy grew unbearable. Every cry of the baby felt like a knife in her chest. She watched David cradle the child, his eyes full of tenderness, and she felt replaced. "He loves her more now," Clara whispered to herself, her mind twisting. "The child has stolen him from me." Her thoughts darkened until one night she made a chilling decision. If the child was gone, David's love would return fully to her. Driven by obsession, she crept into Ifeoma's room while mother and baby slept. Slowly, she reached for the child's cradle, her hands trembling. But fate intervened. Ifeoma woke suddenly, her eyes catching her mother's shadow over the crib. Confusion turned to horror as she realized what was happening. "Mama! What are you doing?" she cried, her voice breaking the silence of the mansion. The secret could no longer stay buried. The house shook with Ifeoma's scream. Clara froze, her face pale. The truth spilled out, not in words but in the rawness of her actions. Ifeoma demanded answers, her heart pounding. "Why would you harm your grandchild?" Clara broke. With trembling lips, she confessed everything, her secret nights with David, her jealousy, her hatred of the child that bound him to her daughter. Ifeoma's knees buckled. The world spun around her. She turned to David, hoping he would deny it. But David only stood still, his eyes calm, his face shameless. "Yes," he said, his voice steady. "I love you, Ifeoma. But I also love your mother. I will not choose between you." Tears streamed down Ifeoma's face. She realized the man she loved had never been hers alone. He was a man greedy for both, bold enough to claim what no man should. The betrayal was deeper than anything she had imagined, her own mother, her own husband, united in deceit. Ifeoma's tears dried into strength. She looked at her mother and her husband, and something within her hardened. She carried her child, stood tall, and said, "This house is mine." Clara and David looked at her in shock. Then she revealed what they never knew: her father's will had left everything to her, the mansion, the land, the businesses. Clara was only a caretaker all along. David, who thought he had secured wealth through love, now realized he had nothing. "Leave," Ifeoma said coldly. "Both of you. Leave my house." Clara begged, David argued, but her voice was firm. With her child in her arms, she watched as her mother and husband walked out of the gates, shadows swallowed by the Lagos night. The mansion grew quiet. For the first time, Ifeoma felt alone, yet free. She had lost her mother and her husband, but she had her child, her father's legacy, and her strength. And so the tale was told in Lagos, that beauty can bring love, but when love is mixed with greed, even blood will betray blood. Moral: greed and desire destroy families, but truth and strength will always stand in the end. Subscribe to my channel for more exciting stories like this.